You are standing in a kitchen that no longer exists. Not really. You are standing in your own kitchen today, and a song comes on the radio. It is a song you have not heard in 15 years, and suddenly your chest tightens. Your throat closes a little. You feel something that is almost sadness, but is not quite sadness. You feel homesick for a place you cannot go back to. Because that place is not a place anymore. It is a time. You cannot buy a ticket to it. You cannot drive there. It has no address. And yet your body reacts as if it has just lost something real, something with weight, something it could have held on to if only it had been faster or paid closer attention or known back then that it would not last. Scientists have a word for this. But the real answer to why it hurts is far stranger than the word suggests. Your brain is not just remembering the past, your body is grieving it. And that raises a question most people never stop to ask. Why would evolution build a brain that punishes you for remembering good things? Think about the last time this happened to you. Maybe it was a smell, cut grass, a specific brand of shampoo. Maybe it was the exact color of light in late August, low and orange, that made your stomach drop for no reason you could name. You did not choose to feel it. It arrived before you had time to brace yourself. That feeling has a name older than you might expect. In 1688, a Swiss medical student named Johannes Hofer coined the term nostalgia. He built it from two Greek words, nostos, meaning homecoming, algos, meaning pain. He was not describing a warm, fuzzy feeling. He was describing a disease. Hofer was treating Swiss mercenaries fighting far from home, and he noticed something odd. These soldiers were not wounded, but they were wasting away. They stopped eating. They stopped sleeping. Some of them died. Hofer believed their condition came from a literal, physical yearning for home, and he treated it as seriously as he would treat a fever. For the next 200 years, doctors agreed with him. Nostalgia was listed as a real illness. Military physicians in the American Civil War recorded soldiers dying from it. Doctors in the 1800s prescribed leeches for it. Some recommended purging. Some recommended being sent home immediately before the condition became fatal. Nostalgia was not a mood. It was a wound. Imagine that for a moment. An entire branch of medicine built around the idea that longing for home could kill you. Not symbolically. Literally. A man could be perfectly healthy, uninjured, well-fed, and still waste away simply because his mind would not stop reaching for a place his body could not return to. That should tell you something. Whatever nostalgia is, it is not small. It is not a passing mood you can shrug off with a joke. For most of human history, the people who studied it most closely treated it as one of the most dangerous things a mind could do to a body. So why does missing the past still feel, even now, like something physical? Here is where it gets strange. Your brain does not file memories the way a computer files photographs. When you remember a moment from your childhood, you are not pulling up a clean recording. You are rebuilding it right now, using the same neural circuits that process pain, that process reward, that process your sense of your own body in space. This means nostalgia is not purely mental. It is somatic. It lives in your chest, your throat, your stomach, because the machinery that generates the memory is wired directly into the machinery that generates physical sensation. When you feel that ache, your body is not speaking metaphorically. It is speaking literally. Consider what actually happens in the half second before you consciously realize you are nostalgic. A smell reaches your olfactory bulb, which sits unusually close to structures involved in emotion and memory. A few notes of a song reach your auditory cortex, which is tightly linked to areas that track emotional significance. By the time the thought forms in words, your body has already responded. The tightness in your chest arrives before the sentence, "I remember this," does. This is why nostalgia cannot simply be reasoned away. You cannot talk your chest out of tightening any more than you can talk your hand out of flinching from heat. The feeling is not downstream of a decision, it is upstream of one. But if nostalgia hurts this much, why would evolution keep it around? This is the part most people get backwards. For most of the 20th century, nostalgia was still treated as something close to a weakness, a sentimental indulgence, something to be managed, maybe even cured. Then, in the early 2000s, a psychologist named Konstantin Sedekaides at the University of Southampton decided to actually test what nostalgia does to people, instead of assuming it was bad for them. What he found flipped the old diagnosis upside down. In study after study, Sedekaides and his colleagues discovered that nostalgic reflection does not just make people sad, it makes people feel more connected, more loved, more like their life has meaning. People who were prompted to recall a nostalgic memory reported higher self-esteem, stronger feelings of social belonging, and even reported feeling physically warmer in a cold room than people who were not. Read that last part again. Nostalgia made people feel warmer. Not warm like comfortable, warm like temperature. Sedikides ran versions of this experiment again and again, refining it each time. He had participants write about a nostalgic memory versus an ordinary recent event. He measured loneliness before and after. He measured optimism. He even measured how people responded to reminders of their own mortality. Across nearly every version, the pattern held. Nostalgia did not drag people down. It lifted them. It made the present feel more bearable, not less. This was a genuine surprise to a field that had spent 2 centuries treating nostalgia as pathology. Sedikides essentially discovered that the emotion doctors once tried to cure was, in most people, doing exactly the opposite of harm. Your ancestors did not evolve to feel good about the past for no reason. They evolved to use the past as a resource, a tool for surviving the present. Think about what nostalgia actually does when it hits you. It does not usually resurrect your worst memories. It resurrects your safest ones. The people who protected you, the places where you belonged, the moments when you were not alone. For early humans, memory of belonging was not sentimental decoration. It was survival information. If you were separated from your group, if you were cold, hungry, or in danger, remembering the warmth of the fire, the presence of your family, the safety of home may have done something functional. It may have reminded your brain that safety exists, that it is reachable, that it is worth the effort of finding your way back. Picture a hunter from tens of thousands of years ago, lost at dusk, far from camp. What good does a happy memory of the fire do him in that moment? Quite a lot, it turns out. It gives him a reason to keep moving instead of lying down. It reminds his body what safety felt like, which makes the discomfort of the present feel temporary instead of permanent. It converts despair into direction. That is what nostalgia may have always been for. Not decoration, navigation. Nostalgia in this light is not your brain being weak. It is your brain sending you a message. It is saying, you have been safe before. You can be safe again. Go find that feeling. But here is the twist inside the twist. Why does a message meant to comfort you also come with an ache? A researcher named Christine Bacho, who has spent decades studying nostalgia at Le Moyne College, found something important. The ache is not a malfunction, it is the price tag on the comfort. You cannot miss something you never valued. The pain of nostalgia is proof of the value of what came before it. Bacho's research suggests that people who score higher in nostalgia proneness are not more broken than everyone else. They are often more emotionally attuned, more able to draw meaning from their own history. The ache is not the opposite of the comfort. The ache is what makes the comfort real. Bacho developed one of the first reliable scales to measure how prone a person is to nostalgia, and she used it to study thousands of people across different ages and backgrounds. What she found challenged the old stereotype that nostalgia belongs mostly to the elderly or to people stuck in the past. Young adults reported some of the highest levels of nostalgic longing, often triggered by transitions. Leaving home, graduating, losing touch with childhood friends. Nostalgia, it turns out, spikes exactly when your identity is shifting, as if your mind is reaching backward to hold something steady while everything else moves forward. So the pain you feel when that old song plays is not your brain failing to let go. It is your brain proving that the thing you are remembering actually mattered. Now think about your own life differently. Every time nostalgia grabs you, uninvited in a grocery store, in a car, at 2 in the morning, it is doing an ancient job, it is pulling data from your emotional archive, and using it to steady you in the present. Studies using brain imaging have shown that nostalgic recall activates regions associated with reward, and with the brain's default network, the same system involved in constructing your sense of self over time. You are not just remembering who you were, you are reassembling who you are. This is why nostalgia spikes during hard moments. People report more nostalgic thinking on cold days, on lonely days, on days that feel meaningless. Your brain reaches backward precisely when the present feels unstable. It is not avoidance. It is anchoring. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If nostalgia is a survival tool, are you using it, or is it using you? Because there is a difference between remembering the past to steady yourself for tomorrow and living inside the past because today feels unbearable. Hofer's soldiers did not die from missing home. They died from being unable to return to it and having no way to convert that longing into anything but grief. The ache became a trap instead of a compass. Your ancestors who survived were not the ones who never felt nostalgic. They were the ones who let the feeling point them somewhere, toward home, toward kin, toward safety, and then kept walking. This is worth sitting with. The same emotion that killed lonely soldiers far from home is, in healthy doses, one of the most reliable tools your brain has for stabilizing itself. The difference was never the feeling. It was what happened next. Whether the ache became a bridge back to meaning or a wall that sealed a person inside a moment they could never leave. You get to decide which one it becomes, every time it shows up. So the next time that unexpected ache hits you, the smell, the song, the color of the light, you do not have to explain it away as sadness. You do not have to be embarrassed by it. It is not a glitch left over from a simpler brain. It is one of the oldest instruments you own, still working exactly as it was built to. You are not standing in a kitchen that no longer exists. You are standing in the proof that it once did, and that you are still carrying it with you.